Welcome to the second episode of the Inkspill podcast. I'm your host, Prototype Quill. I didn't say that last time. I just kind of rolled with it. Yeah, this is the second episode. For me, luckily, over the last couple of days, I spoke with a friend, a couple of friends actually, on some of the content that I mentioned last week. So we discussed the masculinity aspect in a little bit more detail, and he mentioned something about having a masculine frame, and basically what that means is it means having principles and emotional intelligence. That's basically what it is. And if you think about it, those are really important for anyone to have, really, but for men in particular to have, because otherwise, if you don't have principles, you're just going to be battered around everywhere. Everyone is going to walk on you like a doormat. No one's going to take you seriously, and you're basically just going to be a no one, and nobody with no influence, no pull, no respect, no nothing, if you don't have any principles. And Malcolm X also kind of touched on this as well. He said, a man who stands for nothing will fall for anything. So what does that mean? That means you have to have principles. So in order to cause change, you have to be solid. In order to be solid, you have to have principles. So yeah. And the second part of that masculine frame was emotional intelligence. How many times do you see people who completely lose it out of the blue, randomly? Okay, it's not random, but they completely lose it, and they could have handled the situation far better than they actually did. They piped up their anger so much, or they didn't say anything, and they just, once again, let people walk all over them, bottled up their emotions. That never works out. Trust me, I know that never works out. So, what that video was talking about was, it was basically saying you have to know when to you had to know how to use your emotions in appropriate ways for the appropriate situations. You know, if you need to be angry, be angry. If you need to be sad, be sad. But don't like over exaggerate it where it's not needed. If you're trying to teach someone a lesson, that's different. Um, if you're genuinely hurt and you're trying to set a boundary, trying to set a principle, that's fine. But otherwise, if somebody just, I don't know, drops something really small, like a glass of water on the floor, you can quite easily go and clean that up. Yeah, okay, fine, you're going to be a little bit annoyed. So you can let out a sigh or whatever, right? But you don't have to pipe up and start calling the other person like the worst scum on the earth, you know what I'm saying? Um, so yeah, there's that. And yeah, man. So this week, I I came across a new song from an artist that I was listening to. I loved it. I really did. It was reflecting on you know the flaws of society. All the bloodshed, all of the loss of life, all the hardship, all the difficulty, and how it just gets a bit much sometimes. And they were talking about, so in the song, um, it mentions that, if you write about these things, if you know, rap about these things, if you sing about these things, they'll last for a long time. And if you don't express yourself, you're going to have things that go with you to the grave that maybe other people can benefit from. So, yeah, man, that really hit me. um, because like I said last week, if it's if you don't leave a legacy, if you don't have a footprint, something that you leave this world on, kind of what was the point, right? Like, what was the point? Um, if you just kind of ate, slept, had kids, and died. Come on, come on, man. I don't even know what else to say. You know how that goes. Um, so yeah, man. It's all about legacy. It's all about expression. It's all about really putting yourself out there. Because at the end of the day, everyone has something interesting to say. Everyone has something interesting. Everybody has a unique experience. Everyone has a unique way of going about things. And for me, I think that should be free of judgment. Like, I have this tendency to, especially in the last couple of years, I'm really able to not hold people, like, hold things that people say, like, as a reflection of their character as such. I just look at what they're saying. If they're saying something good, like Hitler had a few good things to say, for example, right? Hitler was Hitler, yeah, sure. He was a horrible guy. But, there was some things and some things he said, some things he did that were good. Um, Same with other people who completely did crazy things. Some of them had good things to say at certain periods of their lives. And I think it's important to not look at, oh, this person said it, so therefore it must be wrong. Or this person said it, so therefore it must be right. Because that's not really the way to go about things. You really need to look at what they're actually saying. Are they actually saying something of note? Are they actually saying something beneficial? If not, then disregard it. Doesn't matter if they're like, I don't know, the king of Barbados. Doesn't matter if they are the pauper in the streets of New York. It doesn't matter. If they're not saying anything of note, if they're not saying anything that's useful, if they're not saying anything that affects somebody's life in a positive way, then don't take it. On the other hand, if a crazy mass murderer says something that's actually really, really good and actually really, really useful, like imagine a crazy mass murderer found out a way to solve world hunger. You're not going to be like, oh no, we're not going to use that because it came from a crazy mass murderer. You're going to use it because, the value of what that crazy mass murderer is saying outweighs the fact that he's a crazy mass murderer. So yeah, it's important to not write what people say off straight away without giving the actual thing that they're saying, or the actual thing that they're doing, some thought. So yeah, I think I'll leave it there today. Thank you very much for listening, and yeah, we'll see what other ink I can spill in the coming weeks.
got my backpack with my pen and pad and my headphones on the road. No matter how far I walk, it don't seem like I'm ever getting close. I just been wondering with no map on me, so I don't know where I'm going. Sometimes I be wondering if there'll come a day where I finally find my home. Yeah. Don't wanna be caught in a cycle with drugs and violence. Paranoid, looking over my